Podcast kind of daily show. Um, we are survivors of snowpocalypse. I think it was called snowstorm Enzo. Yeah, that's what it sounds. Yeah. We did get some snow here at West Columbia, Lexington, South Carolina. Um, Not insignificant compared to previous years. Let me see. I just want to make sure my audio is coming through. Um, we probably have about a half an inch, like maybe a trace to a half an inch on the ground here in Lexington, South Carolina. Um, and It's cold, 23 degrees right now. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just looking at my weather forecast, or I have a weather station that's outside. Yes, I ordered it off of the TikTok shop. Excuse me. So yeah, it's 23 degrees. It gives you all sorts of weather. I don't know how much actual snow fell yesterday here in South Carolina, but like I said, it wasn't insignificant. Um, and I had bowling last night, and driving home from bowling last night was not super safe. Uh, it was it was a little it was a little frightening driving home last night because at red lights you'd have to come to a stop, and the there hadn't been a lot of driving on the snow yet on the roads, and they weren't treated. That's one thing about South Carolina, is that in the snows that I have experienced in my 20 something years in my 20 something years here, I have not ever seen like the surface streets, like the Highway 1, the 378. I've never actually seen those. I know the word. I've never seen them treated for snow. So it was an interesting drive home. Um, some of the members of my bowling team did not get home for quite a while last night. Like if we left at 9, some of them didn't get home till 10:15, 10:30. I mean, it was, and none of us. Yeah, no, I didn't see DJ Warbeezy. I did not see any snow or I didn't see any of the roads treated. So that is whatever. I think, let's see. Let me do the first thing. I'm gonna do the hard sell. This is the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. We do this on a semi daily. I guess we could call it the semi daily show, but we do it. We do it. I do it almost every day, and we get on here and discuss some of the things that maybe you're thinking about this morning. Um, the If you live in and around the southeast, there is going to be improvements in the weather today, but it's going to be cold. I think the high here in Lexington's only going to get up to like 34 degrees, which is it's chilly for this time of year in this area. And I know people potentially watching or listening in other parts of the country where cold is uh, much more prevalent, that you experience the cold more often. um, Kudos, because I don't like the cold. I would prefer to be hot. I would prefer just to be you know 95 degrees. That doesn't bother me at all. So normally when I do this show, I have my guest host or co-host, Bill Kimler, who is hostess. Nope. do not say do not say that I said hostess. um Sorry, Bill. I just realized he's potentially watching. Chef Hector Sanchez here in Columbia, South Carolina, amazing chef, says good morning to everybody. um just an all around fantastic guy. If you ever get an opportunity to check out where he's cooking here in Colombia, go check that out. Absolutely, uh, absolutely one of the most amazing chefs that I've ever experienced. Yeah, sorry, Bill. Bill is the host, the one of the co-hosts of the Black, White, and Blue in the South podcast, and tremendous shows that they do. They released an episode last week. You can find it on any one of the podcast platforms. Uh, that is Black, White, and Blue in the South. It's all about democratic politics in a red state like South Carolina, and hosts that with Dr. Jamil Brooks. Again, fantastic program. So definitely check it out. Um, I am the host of the All About Nothing podcast, as well as a podcast that we haven't done in a few months. But we're trying to work out the details on when we're going to get back together to start recording. Called Black White, called What the Pod Was That? What the Pod Was That? Basically, it's one of those. It's a reaction type podcast where we find content on the internet, we share it with each other, and it produces conversation and laughs and jokes and things like that. It's very entertaining. You can check it out. We've got about I don't know, 50 episodes or so that we've recorded over the last several years that are available wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can find it on YouTube. So check that out. Subscribe where you can. You can go to the allaboutnothingpodcast.com. Nope, it's theallaboutnothing.com for links and details to a lot of these shows. So you can do that. Also, in the show notes of every episode that we publish is the notes to where you can find new episodes. In fact, something funny, and I don't know if Bill's still on, but he noticed probably every time, but just happened to tell me the other day that the outro of the All About Nothing podcast had to be re-recorded because for more than 2 years now, I have pronounced his co-host's name incorrectly. Her name is Jamil, and I pronounced it Jamel or something like that. And I didn't. I recorded it once and re-record and never re-recorded it, and that is my fault. And uh, I plead for forgiveness from Dr. Jamil Brooks over and over. I am sorry. Maybe I'll throw in another I'm sorry at the end of this. So I think we've gotten through this snowstorm, and in some cases I think that parts of the southeast, especially along the Gulf Coast, are going to likely see some records were broken yesterday with the amount of snow, the cold temperatures. Like it was significant. There were places in northern Florida on the coast that had um, just epic amounts of snow. They just Panama City. There were places in Louisiana. I mean, Lake Charles was under a blizzard warning for several hours yesterday, which is it's. I mean, I know we're in the middle of winter. Like I don't that doesn't get lost on me. But it's not at all normal for storms like that this far south. I mean, Columbia, South Carolina is north of all of those points on the Gulf Coast as far as um, the I guess it's the longitude. Longitude's the one that goes around. So we're several degrees north longitude of some of the areas in the Gulf Coast, and they had more snow here there than here. Um, but I think in the end we'll probably find out that there was a significant amount of snow and ice probably dumped between Houston, Texas, all the way up the eastern coast to places in Virginia, Norfolk, that sort of thing. So we'll find out. We'll find out as the day goes on today, just how significant it was, and schools here in the South Carolina, Columbia area, they're closed. They had a half day yesterday. I say closed. It's an e-learning day, and actually, I was corrected on. It's not actually called an e-learning day. It's an asynchronous day. So they get assignments that they have 4 or 5 days to complete. Um, I When I was in school, you either had snow days or you went to school. Um, Loki Odinson says that schools in Illinois are closed. I have to assume that's because of just the frigid temperatures, and that's temperatures across the country are just unbelievably cold. When I was in so back back in my day, back in 20 let's see, I want to say no, it wasn't even 20. I want to say it was 1993. We had the epic snowstorm, the blizzard of 93, and that was a significant uh, snowstorm. Hey, morning, John Partridge, who is in Beaufort, South Carolina. John, if you're still watching, just curious as to how much snow you all saw, because you all were supposed to get hammered pretty good. Anyway, back in 1993, the blizzard of 93 was, I want to say it was like the weekend of March 11th, 12th, 13th, or whatever. And I was in Boy Scouts. And yeah, there you go. Um, Asora High. I was in Boy Scouts and we had a camping trip to the coast of Georgia. We had a camping trip to Cumberland Island, Georgia, where the Friday that we arrived and we're camping, we were out swimming in the ocean. Like it was 75 degrees, and uh, it was a camping trip. It was a family camping trip, and we I don't know, at some point during the night or at some point that evening, dinner's being cooked, and one of the park rangers comes into the park and pulls all the adults over and starts talking to the adults and basically said there's a nasty storm system coming. They're calling for an outbreak of tornadoes and things like that. And so this was 1993. We're much more advanced as far as forecasting. Um, oh yeah. Sora High says lots of people got caught in the Appalachian Trail at 100-mile-an-hour winds. So we're on Cumberland Island, which if you know where that at is, it's St. Mary's is the first exit you come to when you come into Georgia from Florida. So it's the last exit in Georgia heading south on 95. And the only way to get to the island is by ferry. So the state park has a ferry system that goes back and forth between the mainland and the island. And on this island, it's amazing. I mean, this was an island that was owned by the Carnegies at one time. At one time, it was basically a playground for the Spanish because before colonial or during colonial times here in the United States, um, I, British control, British rule. I'm not sure what to call it. Anyway, um, so we had a ferry that would take us over, and so basically you had to bring in all your own water. They did have some water on the island, but it was pretty sulfuric sulfuric and so anything you got water wise you had to boil. And because there was a nice, I want to say it was a nice 7 mile hiking trail that you could take around with different backcountry camping spots you could camp at. We used it sometimes as a training or preparing for Philmont. Um, so that night, the state parks rangers come in and pull the adult leaders. I was 13, 14 years old at the time. So they bring in all the adult leaders and tell them about this storm that's coming, to tighten down the tarps. There's the possibility of tornadoes. And sure enough, that night went to bed, nothing calm. The calm before the storm. That's what they call it. I think I just pulled a Trump. the calm. Here's a calm before the storm. That's what some call it. Um, so that night, I don't know what time it was, but woke up to just intense, heavy rain. The sound of the wind was so loud, and at one point, you know, I was young. I'm sleeping in a tent with my brother and my dad, and uh, I wake up, sit straight up, and basically, I don't know if I screamed, I don't remember, but like I had an obvious reaction to the sound of the storm. Come to find out, there were 7 tornadoes, small tornadoes, but 7 tornadoes that hit the north end of the island. This is the same island that JFK Jr. got married on a few years before he and he so anyway, so Cumberland Island's where he got married. Um, but there were tornadoes at the north end of the island. And when we got up that morning, the temperatures were starting to drop. And at one point it got cold enough, and the line of snow started to move through. So we're down in Cumberland Island, St. Mary's, Georgia, where it's now snowing. The wind that's blowing is, I think they said that it was blowing anywhere between gusts up to 75 miles an hour, and the temperature's dropping. Literally, we have kids. Uh, so everything gets packed up. We all head back to the main section where we can get onto the ferry, but they can't bring the ferry up against the dock that you board from. It is the waves are crashing on the canal side, or the mainland, between the mainland and the island, and they couldn't get the ferry up to the dock in order to evacuate us. So by this point, somebody's parents have called local news stations, Jacksonville, Brunswick, Georgia, and they they've sent news crews to the ferry landing in St. Mary's to cover these kids getting home from this island. Um, and so at one point, I guess they felt like it was safe enough. Kids are playing in the wind. Like, kids are putting their jackets up and literally allowing the wind to blow themselves back. So they felt, I guess, at some point they felt like it was safe enough for them to go ahead and bring the ferry up to the dock. Uh, but we had to cross the ferry. I'm hoping I'm remembering this correctly, but we had to cross the ferry on what it wasn't the actual boards, like what you would normally cross over from a dock to a boat. It was more similar to a ladder. So, and it wasn't far, but the dock it was a solid dock, like it was a concrete pillar dock. Uh, but the ferry's doing this the whole time. So you're crossing over this basically a ladder, and you get over on the boat. We left all of our equipment, all of our clothes, all of our food. We left all of that on the island. We didn't cross over onto the ferry with any of that. Um, and and when we got, and when everybody got onto the ferry, very carefully got back to mainland and got off. And then there was, like I said, there were a couple news crews, because some of the parents from Atlanta had called local news crews to see what the state of their children was in. It is Mercedes is saying it's 0 degrees in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania right now. Zero. That's intense. Zero. Anyway, but that was the blizzard of '93. So that was the big one that I experienced. That I remember it being an event. Um, this one, for some people might have been the same. So I guess I'm going to be honest. I think most of you escaped this without me talking about politics this morning. Um, this is I'll just say this, and people can uh, take take it for what it's worth. Um, we are now into the third day of Donald Trump's presidency. Technically, I guess as of noon, it'll be day three. Or no, it'll be full day two. Today was, you know what? Let's not do the math. Uh, Regardless, at noon yesterday, the 21st, the war in Ukraine was supposed to end. Donald Trump said he would end the war in Ukraine. That hasn't happened yet. Um, Grocery prices, just you know what? Just purely out of curiosity, I'm going to see what the grocery prices start to come down. National egg price currently, a dozen eggs is 4.15 a gallon. 4.15 a gallon. That's as of oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to correct that. Egg prices in the United States as of December 2024 were 4.15 a gallon. So a dozen eggs 2024, 4.15 a gallon. As of January of 2023, um, that's short of the high of 4.82 a gallon in 2023. Gallon of milk. I don't think we've seen a huge spike in milk across the nation. But let's see. It's I don't know. It's saying that it's like four dollars, $4 a gallon. That doesn't seem right. I don't think I'm paying $4 a gallon. That doesn't seem right at all. But anyway, that just to point out, campaign promises that were that there was going to be resolution, that there was going to be decrease in prices, that the war in Ukraine he would have it ended uh, within 24 hours. These are not my words; these are his words. And while I acknowledge that um, the likelihood of that occurring was extremely low, um, and at least here on my podcast, we will hold accountable the things that politicians said, Democrats and Republicans alike. And if Donald Trump said that he would do these things within 24 hours, then we'll keep a clock on how long it takes to actually. Now, I I I can't be certain that he's going to be the one that resolves the war in Ukraine, because according to news sources, as of yesterday, um, he has apparently told Xi Jinping, the president of China, that he needs to end the war in Ukraine. I don't know how. I don't know how Donald Trump's going to take credit for that. So, just just so you know. Anyway, all right, that is going to do it. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. Uh, Again, the hard sell. Um, Sav- Savannah says, I don't think you need to keep a clock. You're probably right. Um, but look, a lot of this is for entertainment. You know, I say it all the time. The only thing between birth and death is entertainment. That's it. And if you can't, if regardless of what side you're on, if if you can't find at least a little bit of humor in it, if you can't find at least a little bit of humor in it, then what's the point of all this? You know. So you know, I I can't. I don't want to speculate too much as far as how good or bad the Trump presidency is going to be. Um, I'll just say, you know, I don't know. You know, I think that if you live in reality, then you recognize the faults of both. And there are many in this country that are living way outside reality. Um, let's see. Sorry, just check back in with John. I'm sorry, John. I left you. Unfortunately, not. There's not enough snow in Beaufort to enjoy. It says he's looking at the house cams, but they're there's a pretty decent blanket. I think we probably got a good. I think we probably got a good half inch. Well, Snorper boy, he says, we really wouldn't want my opinion, and that's fair. So scroll on. Um, anyway, like I said, you can't if you can't find at least a little bit of the humor, and just acknowledging that both the Democrats and Republicans are awful. You know, if our country's doing well, then one side says the country's doing terrible. It's going to always be the case. We have no politicians willing to work with each other to actually resolve any problems and create more division. And then, what was your name? Plumper boy? Dumbass boy. Now where'd it go? I can't. You know what? It's not there anymore. Look, I ultimately, um, uh, there are large segments on both sides that are never going to be happy with the other side, and I'm guessing, Bob, you fall into that. So congratulations on finding a way to bury yourself. Good for you. So there we are. All right, if you could, please consider following the show. You can follow us here on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you potentially are watching, YouTube. Subscribe also if you could. I, I'm just gonna say it again. It's really weird when dudes start saying "Daddy's home." I, it's such a weird thing. Like, do you feel weird when you say things like "Daddy's home"? It feels weird, right? Like, do you know what? Good for you though. Look, it's a form of expression. If you'd be comfortable with Donald Trump as your daddy, I'm not gonna fault you for it. Enjoy. This is your time. This is your time. All right. All right. You all have a good day. You all stay safe, be kind, and do us a favor. Keep your hands to yourself. Seriously. It's very important.